Hello and welcome to today's webinar, which is titled Choosing the Right Sales Method for Your Marketing Program. My name's Graham Smith. I'm the Marketing Director for SCI Sales Group. Got about 30 odd years experience in B2B marketing, member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, fellow of the Institute of Sales and Marketing Management, and currently sit on the Telemarketing Council for the DMA. Joined today by Vic, who will introduce himself.
Hello everyone, my name is Vic Mujaria. I'm the Key Account Manager here at SCI Sales Group. Got a background in sales for about 11 years now, ranging from new business account management all the way through to sales director position at board level.
Okay, thank you, Vic. So let's move on to the next stage of this webinar. So normally at this stage we would introduce SCI and pitch you about how fantastic we are. This would actually be the wrong thing to do, and we're going to explain later on why that would be wrong. So rather than do that, we're just going to move on to the guts of the webinar. So choosing the right sales method. Do your sales techniques complement the marketing program? Could they actually be damaging sales effectiveness? We're going to look at 4 aspects of this. First of all, we're going to examine the DNA of simple and complex sales. Then we're going to take a look at effective selling methods. Vic will then take you through a modern selling health check, and then pass back to me to examine the true cost of choosing the wrong method. That final section could be quite illuminating, so I suggest you hang around for that. We are going to have to plough through this at a fair old rate, but obviously this is a recording, so please do refer back to anything that is unclear. There will also be opportunities to connect with other content on our website and elsewhere. So look out for any hyperlinks and QR codes. Use those to connect with further information. So the DNA of simple and complex sales. So here's what we call the sales complexity graph. It shows the yellow line for simple low value sales and the red line for complex high value sales. So as far as the simple sales go, if the proposition is simple and the value low, it should be easy for the prospect to make a yes or no decision. But there also comes a point where the cost of engagement outweighs the lifetime value of the customer. It's simply not cost effective to continue pursuing the lead. That's why on this graph you can see that you reach optimum output fairly quickly, but also it drops away equally quickly. The diagram shows the likelihood of success over time. So on complex sales, the reverse is often true. This is because complex sales require approval normally from a buying team, often at board level. And getting all members of the team to say yes does take time. So we did some research to add further insight on the difference between simple and complex sales. Let's take a look at the results. So we asked 187 buyers how many executives would be involved in the decision-making process, and how long would it take for decisions on purchasing a computer system valued at £70,000, and alternatively stationery at £35 per month. So for us, the first is a complex high value sale, and the second is a simple low value sale. Let's take a look at the results. First of all, the number of executives involved in that process. So the red columns are the complex high value sales, and you can see that number of executives differs from the simple low value stuff. 2 to 3 executives on average, even ranging as high as 10 plus. We tend to find that 10 plus would be where you might be choosing the more sort of technical aspects of a buying process. And then with the simple stuff, it's normally just one executive involved in that purchasing decision. So let's take a look at how long it takes to make those decisions. So here you can see the results again, complex and simple, complex in red, simple in grey. No surprises that it actually takes longer to come to a decision on the complex sales. Simple low value sales very often a month or less. Now this may well seem like common sense, but what our research does is add objective figures to what could be subjective gut feeling, and it also highlights the need to deal differently with each type of sale. So one of the reasons that any sale can take time is because you're often waiting for BANT qualification. But what is BANT? Let's take a look. So BANT stands for Budget, Authority, Need, Timescale. Budget, have they got the money? Authority, are they the person that makes the decision, or are they part of a team? Again, complex sales, they're probably part of a team. Have you identified they actually have a need for your product or service? And timescale, are they ready to make a decision today, or do they need nurturing? I think it would help if we also take a look at where BANT occurs within the suspect to sale process. So at suspect stage, they just have a need. Prospect, they have need and authority. At lead stage, they have the need and authority plus either budget or timescale, but it's not until they become an opportunity that they are fully BANT qualified. Now BANT will occur in virtually all types of sale. Let's examine some of the selling methods. So you can see here just a brief list really of the various sales methods that are available. Within time given, we're not going to be able to cover off all of those. So we've selected a few. Simple sales would be transactional, and then for complex we're going to examine spin selling and content selling. So let's kick off with transactional. So much has been written about online transactional sales, so we're not really going to concentrate on that. We're going to focus on more of the offline stuff. So you can see in the top right hand corner that the telephone is highlighted, and we know that for transactional selling often there is a low value limited profit, which is why online is often used for transactional selling. Face-to-face meetings, very unlikely. Transactional is all about quick sales, it's all about volume. There's no real attempt to build a long-term relationship. There is a structure for the calls, but very often no script. We find that scripts within B2B telemarketing basically alienates the buyer. Volume is the key, so there's a limited amount or no pre-sale research. Yes, it's pretty much cold calling. So let's take a look at the structure to a transactional sale. You would kick off with identifying the decision maker. You would make some sort of benefit statement early on and handle any early objections. An early objection could be as simple as, I haven't got time to deal with this now, can you call me back later on? You would handle that, make a note of a date, convenient time to call them back. Stage 2, you're understanding the prospect's needs. It's question, answer, listen. The listening part, very important, whatever type of selling you're doing. Always remember, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Third stage, you'd be explaining the proposition, and then obviously linking your proposition back to the benefits that you've identified in stage 2. And then the final stage, stage 4, would be a trial. You'd start off with a trial close, and the reason for doing that is because you want to try and identify any objections that they might have. So you would handle those objections, trial close again, and then hopefully close the entire sale off. Now, as I say, this is primarily cold calling, which we know is not particularly popular with an awful lot of marketing departments. but I'd like to explain why you perhaps should consider it. So if we look at the different types of lead, hot, warm and cold, we can see from this pyramid that there is significantly more cold leads than hot. But what's the difference between the three? So your hot leads are your telephone inquiries and people filling in an online inquiry form. The warm leads these days are primarily delivered via content marketing, so white papers, case studies, webinars. You guys listening to this are a warm lead. And then the cold lead is where you've had no previous engagement. But if we look at the percentages on this, you can see that if you were to rely just on hot and warm leads, you'd only be addressing something like 20% of your market. Cold leads obviously enable you to engage with a much larger part of your addressable market. And the other difference is that, generally speaking, hot and warm leads are inbound. Cold leads tend to be outbound. So try to introduce, wherever you can, some sort of outbound cold calling into your marketing program. You're going to be addressing a larger part of your potential market. Just to add a little bit more detail on this, the cold leads, they're at the sort of suspect prospect stage. Warm leads, prospect lead stage. And then obviously the hot leads, well, they're at opportunity stage. They're ready to buy, basically. That's why they've got in touch with you. We're now going to take a look at complex selling. So we can't go through every type of complex sale. So we're going to concentrate on just spin and content. It tends to use telephone, online and face-to-face. It's a high value sale. At some stage you're going to have that face-to-face meeting. Social selling does play a big part in this, and Vic is going to cover off that subject in the health check later. First item, spin selling. So it's a classic technique. It's been around a while. Neil Rackham wrote his book back in '88. He suggested quite rightly that closing and objection handling can actually reduce success, particularly in high value complex sales. There's 4 stages to the process: the opening, investigation, demonstrating capability and obtaining commitment. Spin occurs at the investigation stage, and it's spin that we're going to concentrate in this webinar. If you want details on all the other aspects, then I suggest you download the book. It's a very interesting read. What spin selling does is it uses a hurt and rescue technique. So I'm going to hurt you by exposing all the negative things that are going to happen, and then I'm going to rescue you with the positive benefits of my product. It includes all of the sales tools, but really does drive towards that face-to-face meeting. So let's take a look at SPIN. So it's an acronym, and the S of SPIN stands for situation questions. So this is the starting place for you to understand your buyer's needs. Wouldn't suggest that you ask too many questions, because you should have done your homework. You should have looked at their website. The questions should be about things that you couldn't find on their website. So, for example, you know they use the Acme 3000, you just don't know how old the machines are or how many they've got. Next stage is the P, which stands for problem questions. So at this stage, you're trying to ensure that you and the buyer agree on the problem. Bear in mind that the buyer may not always see the problem in the right way, so it's useful or essential that you both understand what the problems actually are. The next stage, the I of SPIN, stands for implication questions. So these increase the prospect's motivation to seek change. You fully outline the implication of not taking action. And then the N is the need payoff questions. So obviously, how can the problem be solved? And if you ask the right sort of questions at this stage, very often the buyer will tell you how your solution can help them. I'd like to give you an example to explain how this can work out. So let's say that you are selling the Acme 3000 machine. At situation stage, you're going to be asking them how many machines have they got and how old are they, the sort of stuff that you can't find on their website. Problem stage, you're asking how much does it actually cost to maintain these machines? How long does it take to train staff on these old machines? And then you come to the implication. So what's the cost of maintenance? How much downtime is there to repair these machines? Does the downtime impact your staff's ability to hit production targets and earn bonuses? And if the staff can't earn their bonuses, does that have an impact on staff churn and therefore recruitment? So you're unraveling the true cost and implications, making them clear. And then at need payoff, you'd be asking questions like, well, how would it help if machine downtime were halved? How would it help if staff churn were reduced? So I said that we'd be covering SPIN very briefly. There is the book by Neil Rackham, and you can see a link there. Strongly advise that you take a look at that if complex high-value sales are part of what you do. There is a more modern version of it, which is called the Challenger Sale. Again, there's the link. Would recommend you take a read of that. Very good book. So next we're going to take a look at content selling. So this is where content marketing meets its sales cousin. Some of you will be familiar with content marketing. You may well even produce it yourself. The beauty of this is that you know the subject the buyer is keen to discuss. They've just downloaded a white paper on computer networks or corporate tax or the production of widgets. And the buyer knows that this is your field of expertise because he's just read your white paper or engaged with your webinar. The beauty of content selling is also that it enables you to engage earlier in the suspect sale process. Very often you're engaging at the prospect stage. It uses a consultative sales process, and I'm going to outline that. And obviously it blends with your content marketing. So first stage, sales intelligence. What did they download? A little bit more research on their website. Are they expanding? Next stage, open questions. You want to, the content gives you a clue as to their needs and pain point, but you'd be asking, what were you looking for help with? Discover their goals and their plans. Active listening. Again, this tends to be a part of most selling. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Already referred to that earlier. Next stage is to help them. So at this stage, you're teaching them something that they didn't already know and trying to help them to overcome their challenge. It's part of that consultative sales process. But also at this stage, you might be asking them to opt in to receive further content from you. And I'll give you a little bit more detail about why that's important. You then band qualify them. Budget, authority, need, timescale. Are they really the person that you need to be speaking to? Are there others in the organisation that you need to be having a conversation with? And then you move on to the final stage, which is consequences and close. It should be easy to close a band qualified lead. If they do push back, then obviously you're just going to highlight the consequences if they fail to buy. There are 2 parts to content selling that I really want to highlight. That is the fact that the content gives you a clue as to their needs and pain point. You don't have to go through your full portfolio of services. You can concentrate on what they've identified as being their pain point. And then the other point I wanted to highlight is the fact that this is a great opportunity for you to get people to opt in for further content from you. So whether that's via email or via your website or however, it's a great way to get people to opt in. So now I'm going to hand you over to Vic, who's going to go through the modern selling health check. Here's Vic.
Thank you, Graham. Okay, so as Graham mentioned, we're going to go over the modern selling health check now. So we start off with, are you chasing all your leads? Research from Serious Decisions shows us that 80% of sales leads are not followed up. Yet 70% of those, what we call bad leads, buy within 24 months. So why are they not being chased up? Well, first of all, you've got to look at, are they being chased up? And if not, why not? Do the leads fall into the right criteria? Are the sales team motivated in the right way to actually follow those leads up? It's critical that you put in lead nurturing programs and stay front of mind with those prospective buyers. Can you see the damage? What we mean by that is, can you see the damage being done by using the wrong sales technique and by not chasing those leads? Are you approaching prospects in the correct way? Are you putting across the relevant and correct message? Are you storing sales intelligence? Now, we know that data and intelligence is critical to any sales strategy, but in particular, how you store it. So after every conversation that you have with a prospect or opportunity, after every meeting that you have or any kind of engagement that you have with them, are you adding the insight and the results into CRM? But more than that, are you mapping those prospects and opportunities correctly? So it's not just John, but also Sally that you need to be speaking to. One could be a decision maker, but one could be a high influencer as well. Are you practicing new skills? So we know that techniques like open and close questions have been around since the 19 and 20s, but it's also time to learn something new. The internet has changed things for us, and we know that 60% of the journey has been completed before contact. So, when you're talking to that prospect, is there a need for an introduction? Have they already done that research on you? Do they already know that about you? So really kind of redefining and re-looking at the way that you would talk to a prospect, knowing that they've already done their research around you. Do you have social selling skills? Graham mentioned this earlier. I mentioned that the internet has changed things for a prospective buyer, but it's also changed for you guys as well. We have LinkedIn, we have SlideShare, we have Twitter, there's blogs. So there's an opportunity to gain so much insight on who you're talking to and actually connect to them in a very, very different and new way. Do you look like an expert? So content marketing can position you as an expert. So are you adding useful facts and figures into sales conversation? Are you putting out the right type of content and following up in the right way to show that you are an expert? So it builds confidence and trust in you as an individual and your brand as well. And finally, are you protected? So there's a new legislation called the EU Data Regulation, and what that does, it changes direct selling, so B2B marketing, from an opt-out to an opt-in rule. So are you ready for it? What that means is that you cannot ring, email, or post any sales material without their express permission. So do you have opt-in? Are you ready? And it's really critical that you get ready now. Everything that I've said is available as an infographic, this modern health selling health check. Our details will be available at the end of this webinar, so please do email us if you would like this infographic sent to you. Thank you for listening. I'll pass you back over to Graham now.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Vic. Also, if you review this video, you'll see that there are links for each stage of this health check to further reading. Those links are also available on the infographic that Vic mentioned. Please do get in touch if you'd like a copy of that. So now I'm going to take a look at the true cost of choosing the wrong method. So using transactional methods in content selling. So the prospect has downloaded a white paper, let's say, and they're clearly at the prospect stage of the process. They're looking at what can satisfy my need. They haven't got as far as looking at who. So they're not ready to buy yet. If you call them and pitch them and try to close them at this stage, it's just going to damage your brand and burn data. Damage to your brand could mean that they don't accept your second or third call. They're always in a meeting. And burning data could well mean that they tell their colleagues within the department not to accept your call either. Using content methods in transactional selling. Well, transactional selling is all about volume. And if you use content methods in that type of sale, remember you're only going to be addressing something like 20% of the market. 80% of the market hasn't engaged with you. The numbers quite simply don't work. There's also a danger that content actually encourages the prospect to rethink their needs. And all that does is obviously add further delay to what should be a relatively high volume, quick sale. Using spin methods in transactional selling. Spin takes time, at least it takes time to do it well. And it does require some sort of face-to-face meeting, which is obviously going to be expensive. The margins in transactional are normally far too tight to allow for spin selling. Again, it could also spin could also encourage them to rethink their needs, adding further delay. There is one other point that I'd like to make about using the wrong sales method. You might get lucky, and using the wrong method, you could find that 2% say yes, and you actually get a sale out of it. However, it's not about the 2% that say yes, it's also about the 98% that say no, and who will never take your call and who unsubscribe from your email. I said that we would cover 3 issues today. Let's take a review. So the DNA of simple and complex sales. Yeah, we've shown the difference between the two. The number of executives involved and the length of sale vary. So for us, it's fairly obvious that the sales method should also vary. Effective selling methods. So there are many, and we've concentrated on just 3 today. Choosing the right one is really a discussion for the sales and marketing department to have. We know that there is a drive towards greater discussion and greater collaboration between those 2 departments. Really, it's for you guys to decide which is the best method. And then the true cost of choosing the wrong method. So Neil Rackham established back in '88 that complex sales required a different approach, finding that open and closed questions and objection handling actually damage sales. The same sort of damage can be done to transactional selling. Bear in mind, it's not just about the 2% that say yes, it's also about the 98% that say no. What damage has been done there? So thank you for joining us on this webinar. As promised, our contact details are on screen now. There is an infographic as well as a white paper to support this webinar. Please contact either Vic or myself for a copy. Alternatively, you can visit the knowledge section of our website, scisalesgroup.com/knowledge, where you'll find this and hopefully some other interesting material for you to digest. Again, thank you very much for your time, and I hope your day is profitable.